we need to talk about Ozempic again. I know it comes up a lot on this show, but now there has been a fashion faux pas related to Ozempic. There is this couture line of a bunch of edgy t-shirts, and one of them, walking down the runway, said on this shirt, "I heart Ozempic," and the model was skinny. I wouldn't call her malnourished, but a lot of people are offended by this. They're calling it, just as tasteless as food is when you're on Ozempic.
Does it kill the taste of food?
Like, you lose your appetite completely when you're on Ozempic. But, people think that this might be glorifying heroin chic. They think that it's glorifying eating disorders. And when you have this look up on screen, you can see that it's very reminiscent of the early 2000s style. And people don't want that to come back. But what no one is recognizing is that, Ozempic is only becoming kind of fashionable because it's an overreaction to the body positivity movement, which forced people to pretend that they're okay with being fat.
I like it because it sectors itself off into a side of an industry that doesn't seem to pine for the mainstream approval, right? Like, this type of toxic behavior has always existed in that industry.
In the fashion industry,
the real insult is pretending like it didn't, right?
Runway models never weren't super skinny. As far as the body positivity movement went, it never reached runway models. They were always skinny.
I have no problem with a bunch of models who are part of this inaccessible industry that most of us will never know having a crazy opinion about some drug that makes them skinny. It's not going to affect me, and I don't think it's going to have a larger effect on society as a whole.
And do you think this says it's an inside joke? Like, they all acknowledge and know,
yes,
we're all on Ozempic.
like what's more insulting is pretending like it's not a thing and then just going on and using it. That's being more dishonest.
The other shirts in this runway line said "too pretty for rehab."
See,
and,
this is very early 2000s.
Fashion junkie in a bunch of rhinestones on one of these hoodies.
Like, this is
trying to be edgy.
Done.
I broke my heart when I found out that the Paris Hilton "Stop Being Poor" shirt wasn't real. I was wanted that to be real.
Yeah, I wanted it to be real too.
Did they ever actually make that shirt? I'm sure somebody made that shirt. Right?
Yes, they did, and I bought that shirt.
Do you own it? Yeah.
Yes, I own that shirt.
Stop being poor.
One of the comments said, "Can you explain in depth the meaning behind this shirt, please? I believe there's nothing to joke about when talking about the abuse of Ozempic for the sake of being extremely skinny."
There's absolutely something to joke about.
It's really funny.
You should absolutely joke about it.
You should watch the South Park special to
You
find
should
out.
also make fun of people who tell you that there's not something funny about it.
There's something very funny about celebrities who virtue signal about being body positive and in reality, once the opportunity arose, wanted to get extremely skinny as fast as possible instead of putting the work in to be skinny.
Like, that's
really
second
funny.
it happened.
Yep.
So there's a lot to joke about. There's a lot of material there.
You're literally stabbing yourself in the gut to be skinny. That's hilarious.
Another person commented,
insane.
"Always been desperate for cheap ass attention. I've been uninterested in this brand for years now, ever since they copied emerging designers' ideas. But honestly, this brand has become way too influential in the past couple of years to be spreading such low, superficial, capitalistic, and toxic values. Unacceptable. Cancel it once for all."
Love all of it. Love all of it.
You support it?
Make it more expensive just to make them mad.
Some people were also offended by the "too pretty for rehab" shirt as well, because they're trivializing rehab.
Love it. I can make that joke too because I've been to rehab. So I can, if you can't take a joke, then, get off the internet.
It's channeling like Von Dutch with the trucker hats.
It absolutely
definitely,
is.
and the low waists.
So there was like a picture going around the other day. It's only like tangentially connected to this. It was like, this is a group of Trump voters, and it's like a guy and a girl in an Affliction shirt, and she's got like the blue jeans with the rhinestones on it. They're like, they love Trump. They don't know who Romney's running mate was. Like, it's really, really funny because it absolutely exists.
They're like, the Barstool conservatives.
It says these are the people that drink nothing but Bud Light or at least they used to drink nothing but Bud Light at their local bar. All of that is this chic of that Von Dutch and Affliction's clothing style. And you'd see them at Hinder concerts.
But a lot of people feel like this is offensive because it channels that early 2000s culture. and it's like repackaging nostalgia for people instead of being creative and creating something that looks new.
That's everything in Hollywood and the media now is repackaging.
One
nostalgia.
person said, do people still not realize that selling weaponized semblances of nostalgia, products you couldn't afford as children, back to young adults once they have disposable income, is late capitalism's default creative mode?
I've been told that kids can't afford houses anymore and nobody has disposable income, so...
Maybe they're all spending it on I Heart Ozempic
Fashion.
shirts.
Maybe that's what it is. It's don't stop drinking your $7 lattes and getting DoorDash every night. Stop buying your I Heart Ozempic shirts and maybe you'll be able to own a home one day, millennial.
Yeah, maybe the DoorDash, the $7 lattes, and the avocado toast made all of the millennials fat.
Yeah.
And then they've revered back to wanting to be skinny.
But this is a thing, right? Where they talk about all the things that millennials can buy now because they've got disposable income, things that they couldn't afford when they were kids. Or
like
why
going
they collect...
to Disney without kids.
I'm like, but also we supposedly, nobody
Can't
can
buy
afford
it, yeah.
houses and everybody's miserable. So which is it?
Well, maybe millennials are like bifurcated into the class that can spend $5,000 a night on a Star Wars hotel and the ones who are barely affording groceries.
So there's just like those. So I'm only interacting with the ones who can't on Twitter, and the ones who can are too busy living their best life to bother. Okay, all right, that's a fair comparison there. I tend to group them all in together whenever I see stories like this. I'm like, what? How are they affording this? I've been told that nobody can afford anything, or I guess maybe it's a couple of what are they? Dinks can afford these shirts. Dinks can afford them.
Yeah. What?
Dual income, no kids can afford
right.
I Heart Ozempic shirts.
Yeah, I assume that everybody knows that acronym by now, but
Yes.
it's not mainstreamed yet. We need to mainstream it.
Look, I'm okay with it. This was such a big part of pop culture in the early 2000s, this type of style and this type of talking point. And it's not attempting to get it's not pining for the approval of the people who would weaponize your good nature or would weaponize your ability to empathize with other people.
And they want to promote it to people who can actually afford it, right?
I mean,
Supposedly.
They're not even pretending like they're targeting it to...
Well, this might just be for a runway so that a picture will go out and cause a controversy or conversation of some kind. It doesn't mean that it's for marketing it to anybody, but it seems like the fashion industry was sectored off from the body positivity movement for the most part.
Because it was already sectored off by money and by status and things like that. It's one of the things that's annoying about Hollywood. Hollywood's the same way, but they pine for the approval of the regular class of people.
So is the culture like doing this ebb and flow back to irreverence?
No, I think this stays firmly away from the mainstream. I think the mainstream will continue with the crap we see every day about.
You don't
body
think this
positivity.
is like hinting at the future?
I mean, I think that it doesn't matter because I think that this existed in the early 2000s and it exists now. But in the early 2000s, the mainstream media would push stuff like this, whereas the mainstream media will now push stuff like body positivity and weaponized empathy.
Also, like, if you guys scroll down and check out this one model real quick, like, is she on Ozempic or is she like super old?
She is actually old, yes.
Okay. Just caught me off guard.
That is not Ozempic
like, okay.
At least I really hope that couldn't happen to someone in their 20s on Ozempic.
Yeah.
But it is aging people.
Yep.
But they care more about being skinny than being pretty, apparently.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.